Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Balanced and Bougie. To start out today, I feel like we have not done any just like general life updates now with the past few episodes. So, my life has been pretty basic and boring. I took a nice long bike ride yesterday, felt great. And then I sat and I had lunch with a friend on a patio, and it was like the first consistently sunny day in a
Oh,
long
so
time.
nice.
It was so nice. And I fried myself, you guys. I had my SPF all over my face. I double layered because I knew I'd be out. But I don't know if you're watching on the video, you can catch like a farmer's tan here. I'm wearing a high neckline because I feel like I'm crispy and I'm still so mad at myself for it because I'm like, I felt it in a
Hmm.
way. Do you know what I mean? Like my nose is really red. Like
Yeah,
it
you
just
can feel the
makes me
tingle.
sad because I'm like, I'm trying to protect my skin. But I was like, oh, the sun.
Hmm.
I'm a French fry. So
It's your base burn of the season.
that is what I thought. I was like, it's gonna happen eventually. And it
Hmm.
usually there's at least one time that I beat myself up for not paying attention to the cues of like reapplying. Because that's the thing. I feel like I layer so much on it. I'm like, I don't have to touch it all day. When I know at my core, y'all gotta reapply in like what, 2 hours?
Every 2 hours. So hard.
It is so hard. So besides, I mean, I feel happy because like I had sunlight yesterday, but also I'm sad because I'm a little crispy.
Like your mental health has improved tenfold, but
Yeah.
you're like,
Skin
I
health.
pay a lot of money for Supergoop. Why is it not all over my skin?
Exactly. Head to toe. I need to like dunk like in a bathtub of it each morning before I go out. Ay, ay, ay. But besides that, Erica, how are you? Any life updates?
I'm starting vision therapy and it sucks.
Let's talk about it. Do you want to talk about it?
We can talk about it. It's an interesting thing that I do think might be worth going into at some point. I went to a new doctor, a new eye doctor. This would be the fourth kind of eye doctor I've seen, and she realized that my left eye is like there's a nerve that has some minor paralysis. So like you can't see it looking at my eyes, but if you're tracking their movement, like my cranial nerve 4, there's several cranial nerves,
Okay.
one of mine is slightly paralyzed, and it's not a huge deal. You can't see it because it could give you like a lazy eye almost, or mean like your eye can't move, but my eye can still move. It just doesn't move perfectly, and that's what's caused a lot of my vision issues, which is crazy because I'm 2 years out from the injury. So like at first I was super excited because I was like, oh my gosh, look at this, like I'm validated. I have been complaining of my left eye for 2 years. It's my number one pain. And I keep telling the doctors, like, I can't see right. Like, I can't tell you why I can't see, but I cannot see.
Mhm.
And so it was really validating. But then they sent me to like vision therapy. And I'm really struggling to like believe it's not a scam, which sounds really bad, but like they've charged me so much money. And it's like for some reason I really feel like it's like snake oil because I paid
Mhm.
$400 for this binder that I didn't really get a choice on. You can't do the therapy without the binder, okay? And the binder has like four things in it to help you with the vision therapy. Like one of them is a paper plate. One of them is like an eye patch that sticks on your glasses and you can move it from side to side, which is basically just like a cling film that's white almost.
Okay.
And then they have these red and green like 3D glasses, and that's about it. Like I know that all those products are no more than $50. I understand that that's how it works in the medical field, but
Yeah.
they don't accept health insurance. So it is all out of pocket. So they're like, I know that if I went to a hospital or like a hospital, like a organized place that, with health insurance would be charged probably $1,000 for this, which is dumb, but it's how the system works.
Yeah.
And we're doing this vision therapy that's super, super similar to what I already did in physical therapy 2 years ago. So
Okay.
I'm like, is this actually worth my time? And in the end, it's going to have cost me around $3,000 start to finish, which like my husband was like, if it costs you $3,000 and it gives you 1 hour more of being able to work a week because it helps your eyes not hurt, you will make an extra, like, I think he said somewhere along the lines of like $30,000 in your life. So I am trying it, but like my heart's not in it. And like the therapist is like, you have to, like, I went in and she's like, what are your goals? And I said, like, to read a real book would be great. And everything else, I don't really care. I've accepted that this is where I'm at. And she was like, well, you need to have hope that you'll get better. And I get it. I get where she's coming from. I think that she's probably used to working with people early in their injury. And I'm so much further out. And I was like, I tried so hard for so long that like the idea of going back to therapy and doing therapy at home again, and, you know, and also, I don't know if I mentioned this, it hurts really bad. Like vision therapy is very painful for me, is like so daunting. And I'm so like, I hate it so much. I've only had one appointment, so I'm being so ridiculous. But I do not know how to be like positive about it. I have no like energy to give it. I'm annoyed every time I have to do it. And the other thing that she does is she just says stuff like, she's just so positive, which I get, but like she'll be like, make sure you're breathing, and only do this if you're sure about your balance and stuff like that. And I get it. Those things make sense, but I find it insulting because I'm like, I have told you that I am very proficient in yoga, including meditative breathing, and I understand that you're just reminding me to breathe because like that's your job. But I'm like, you're ignoring all of the effort that I've put in, or not ignoring, ignorant of all the effort I've put in to get here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, obviously this is a me problem and not her problem, but I'm so frustrated.
Well, that is hard, right? And especially like the layers of it, right? It's unpleasant to do. You know it's costing a lot of money. You're like, I hope this works, but like, I don't know. I'm this far along and finally getting answers and all the things. And I think there's something too in what you said where she's like, okay, you have to have hope. You have to have this. Where I always wonder that too. You know, people who are rebuilding in any capacity, physically, mentally, you know, like whatever. Yeah, do you hit a point where it's not like you've lost hope, but you're like, I know better than to just live in that sphere of hope? Like, is it almost that now you just need grit? Or you just
Right.
need, you're like, I'm gonna hate this. Because I hear what she's saying, because I know that's such a big thing too. Like, you know, if you believe, your body will show up for you, blah, blah, blah. But like, yeah, is there a way to go into it pissed off every time and still have progress? Because I know things in life like that. And I'm like, that's the only emotion I can conjure up right now is,
Yeah.
I'll
That's how I'm
figure it
showing
out.
up.
Yeah.
And I also think one of the big issues with, you know, and I've talked to other people who have other life altering injuries and experiences, and
Mhm.
like hope is really great and super helpful. But I also feel like there is some point where you need to start learning contentment, you know?
Mhm.
Like you have to learn to be happy with the cards you've been dealt, because this might not get better. Like what is the purpose of me hoping that my vision will work better tomorrow for the rest of my life? Does that help me? And hoping, you know, because they're like, is your goal to work 40 hours a week again? And I work 6 right now. And I said, no. No, my goal is to work 10 a week, not 40. I'm not even considering that. Would it be great? Yes. Yeah, that would be awesome. But like, how helpful is that goal? Because I'm going to just keep failing for whoever knows. I mean, maybe next year I could work 40. I have no I would be really surprised, but if I set a goal of 10, I might meet that in the next year or two. Whereas if I
Yeah.
set 40, I might never meet it, and then I'm just never meeting my goals over and over again forever. And that's kind of how I feel about this vision therapy. I'm like, I did all this stuff for 2 years. I don't know that I want to hope that it's going to get better, because it will be really devastating for me when it doesn't get better. And I've kind of learned to be cool with where I'm at.
I do think that's huge. I think that's that whole acceptance, right? Like just
Hmm.
acceptance releases some of that suffering aspect,
Right.
because especially while the body is miraculous and can heal, and you know you are a testament to that, with a lot of hard work you have come back to a place that you probably didn't know that you'd get to 2 years ago,
Hmm.
right, compared to where you were. However, you're totally right that so many things in life, when they happen, that aspect of change is like you're never going to get back to exactly where you were. So yeah, that being your goal can be harmful. And you're totally right that I feel like working in special education taught us this,
Hmm.
that measurable, achievable goals. Such a great example. I'm at 6 hours, and is your goal 40? First goal is 10. Then
Hmm.
we'll reevaluate. And I think
Right.
that's really smart of you. And I could understand too how that annoyance piece then comes in, because yeah, not only it's like it's these reminders and things, and you're like, listen, I have
Hmm.
a very grounded adult perspective on this because I have been dealing with it for 2 years. So
Right.
please meet me where I am at now.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard you say, like, well, this is a me problem, not her. But also, like, I don't know how comfortable you would be being like, hey, I gotta shoot this straight right now. Like, this
Yeah.
is where I'm at. Speak to me at that because I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna
I do.
change her and her approach, but
Yeah, I think that's actually why maybe I feel bad is because I do respond with like I have no intention of having my goal be 40 hours.
mm,
I don't know if that's even realistic. And she's like, "Well, we don't want to give up hope." And I'm like, I don't know why that was such like an like I'm so offended by it every time. I think she said it like 3 times throughout the hour.
mm,
And I was like, that's not giving up hope. I think I'm just not being ridiculous. Like if I said I want to be able to if you can read or if you can like type 23 words a minute, which I think is pretty slow, right? And then you're like, I want to be able to type 200 words per minute next week.
mhm.
That's not real. That's not possible. Do some people type at 200 words per minute? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't probably maybe, but like these are not like this path does not make sense. It's not reasonable. And so I just get frustrated when all these professionals who see how much I have how far I've come and how much I still struggle with certain things, I just get like really I'm like you're not thinking about what obstacles I'm coming up against, and sometimes I feel like how much I've healed is really phenomenal, but it hinders me in other areas because I think I now present so well that they forget that I'm presenting really well in spite of a lot of things,
Mm.
and I work really hard to present well to them, that I'm almost like that does me a disservice because they think I hate saying that like I'm more capable than I am. I don't like speaking about myself that way, but I think it's when we're what we're getting to in the end with this. Or can I tell you the other thing that ticks me off? This is
Yeah.
ridiculous. Okay. This is so silly, and I just want to say it for the world. I've had like evaluations done, and I've seen so many different specialists, and this thing that keeps popping up with all these medical professionals and real people in real life, but it bothers me way more from medical professionals, where they will ask me questions, and I'll say something like, one thing that's really hard for me is talking about numbers. So if I'm like recently, I had to talk to my car insurance person about my deductible and some other number that I cannot remember. It's like 500 versus 100, and I don't remember what all those pieces mean anymore. But I had to talk numbers with her, and I was comparing those numbers to another option I had, and that was really hard because I have a for some reason, my brain has a hard time categorizing numbers and keeping track of them.
Okay.
And she's like, oh, I have that problem too. And I'm like, you don't, though. You don't. I didn't know my phone number for 6 months. You don't have that problem. And even if she did, it's like she doesn't though. Like, and that's what makes me crazy is because I'm watching her fill out a form about me where she's writing numbers down. And I understand that she's trying to relate to me and empathize with me, but I'm like, I actually feel like you're super diminishing my struggle because if you couldn't keep numbers in your head as little as I could, you couldn't do your job.
Hmm.
So no.
Yeah. I can understand how that might be like a tangent situation, right? Because she doesn't know your background,
Mm-hmm.
where it could still be like, oh, this is kind of triggering for me. But you put it in perspective, right? It's like you don't. You're trying to relate to me, but it's like irksome. But
Mm-hmm.
especially then when, like, yeah, if you said like medical professionals do it, you should be like, you should know. Like,
Right.
no,
Right.
no, this is not. Yeah, that's a really good thing for me to think about too, just like navigating the world. Because I try to think of like the number of times when, especially like in my job or meeting people, it's like you want to relate to someone to like
Mm-hmm.
establish ground, make them feel comfortable. But I think it's one of those things that sometimes we just say something like, oh, that happens to me too and stuff. And maybe the right thing to
Yeah.
hold space would be to just not have to have a response to it.
Yeah, I think relating is still important. I don't think there's anything wrong with being like, oh, that's something I really work on too, or I find that hard, or, something like, I think that's okay in general. But if someone is coming to you and they're saying, I'm really struggling with X, and if you
Mm.
are not also really struggling or had an experience where you really struggle, but you're like, oh, that bothers me, I think it would be better to say something along the lines of like, that sounds really difficult.
Yeah.
I've had some people say, and I think this makes a lot of sense, like, oh, that sounds really hard. I know that I have trouble with this similarly, so I can't, something like, I can't imagine if it were to that degree.
Hmm.
but I'm also aware that there are people who have it worse than I do. And so like even people who work, like there are definitely people who work who have a harder time with numbers than I do. And so like if someone wants to relate, I think that's totally okay. I think it's when they turn something that you're saying was really hard into something flippant. So if you really feel like you struggle with that a lot, go ahead and relate. But if it's just like a one-off comment, it might not have the positive, comforting impact like you're hoping. Because I totally agree that the doctors and the people who say that are just trying to be nice and are just trying to make me not feel dumb. Like that's the goal, is like, don't feel stupid. I also struggle with this. Mm-hmm. And I think when normal, quote unquote, when non-medical professionals say stuff like that to me, I appreciate it. Like it's fine. I'm like, yeah, we all struggle with numbers are hard, tipping is hard, things like that. It doesn't bother me. But when the medical professionals say stuff like that to me, I'm like, am I not? I also think it's like this point of panic for me where I'm like, am I not expressing how bad this is to you that you think it's fine? Because then I need to restate all of this because you're thinking this is just a little struggle when it's something that has impacted my ability to pay my bills.
Another thing that comes to mind too when you said like, okay, they're just trying to be nice, kind of brings me back to that, like, being nice isn't always being kind, or so like, oh, be nice, be nice. Sometimes like being nice actually doesn't end up really doing anything or benefiting the situation. Where sometimes the alternate, which can feel uncomfortable, being like, well, I don't know what to say to that, holds more room for just the reality of the thing.
Yeah,
like. Because it can be hard to not have a response, but I hear, at least, and tell me if I'm wrong, like, there might be some situations where, yeah, it wouldn't diminish you if they're like, oh, if they didn't have a response, but like, tell me more. Or they're like, okay, I'll take that into account. Because then you're heard. You're not shut down.
I definitely feel that way, at least medically. I think socially, there's a lot more give. I feel like,
yeah,
when you're dealing, like there's never a right or wrong thing to say, and different people are going to respond differently to statements. So I don't want anyone to listen to this and be like, oh, I shouldn't have said that or what. No, it's fine. And like, as long as you're trying, it's okay. But I feel like when there's that power imbalance, especially going on between a medical professional and a client, it gets trickier because you're also, I feel like in at least probably everywhere in the world, when you're in the doctor's office, you, especially as a woman, you're almost trying to prove something's wrong every time you're there and fight for them to believe you that something is wrong. And I actually think that might be more of why this bothers me than just the actual comment from a person. Because I do feel myself getting defensive of like, I don't want someone to feel bad for saying, oh, I also have trouble with numbers. Because that's true. It's when I feel like, oh, you're going to say that and then you're not going to take me seriously and then I'm not going to get the help I need, that it has that gravity to it.
Yeah. That is a good point, because studies actually show that, right? That women are often dismissed, or it's like, well, you just feel that way, or things feel bigger for women and they're not, meanwhile, like, men won't go to the doctor for 10 years. That's the other end of the spectrum, right? Where then like they're trying to pull answers out of them. I can hear that too when you said, do I have to restate what I said so that you take it seriously? Or do I need to, did you not understand the weight of what I just said? That's huge. Like, and that's just, I think, a great way to encompass that feeling of like, well, fighting to be taken seriously in that. It's like, no, I've thought through it. I'm telling you exactly, logically, how this, especially because you're so good with words, right? For them, when they're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's hard. That happens to me too. You're like, promise this eye thing is not happening to you right now.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, we're not the same right now. And sometimes I try to take it like we've reached the point where like I'll talk to the doctors and they'll be like, you fall in normal range for, like, 2 years ago I fell into normal range for balance, right when I got kicked in the face. I tested on balance in normal range. And I kept trying to explain to them that I didn't feel normal. Yeah. And that my balance felt super bad. And it was for me. But I just always had really good balance. Sorry to all my friends who are listening, because I was really annoying about my balance abilities this week. Sorry. But like, I was just naturally good at it. And not naturally, but like I had, we did yoga and stuff like that. So I tested in normal range, but they didn't take it seriously when I was saying there was a problem, because they're not basing you on yourself. They're basing you on these norms, which makes sense. They can't know how good I was before, but that's what makes, I think, all of this so much trickier, is because you're trying to compare you to you, and that's not what anyone else is comparing you to. So while somebody might have always really struggled with numbers and then this happens to them and they're still struggling, they don't see a difference. Whereas if you were good at something and then, yeah, I don't know. I'm getting lost in what I'm saying, but
That makes sense though, because I was gonna say one side like plug, which is not exactly
mm-hmm.
the same as Erica's because that happened to you suddenly and you couldn't have
Yeah.
anticipated the injury. Get baseline health data
Mm-hmm.
at a young age when you're healthy. Get blood tests done, get things done. If you can't afford it, I know that maybe that's a privileged thing to say, but in whatever way
Mm-hmm.
you can, track your data so that as things come up, as we get older and things change, you have baseline data on you to compare because you're totally right.
Yep.
Otherwise, we fall into what the research has, which is predominantly based on men.
Right.
It is all over the board, just based on who was willing to be a participant in a study,
Mm-hmm.
and if they've even updated research in that field for a while. There's so many, like, that doesn't necessarily benefit or impact your situation, but other things, we're at the mercy of, because doctors can't just be like, oh yeah, I believe you, without any sort of like, or they should believe what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, but if they don't have something to compare it to, sometimes I know that gets hard for them too, right? To like then give a diagnosis or back
Right.
something.
And I don't even blame I don't blame the doctors for that. Like, what are you supposed to do? Just take my word for it? I could be lying. I do get that norms are part of medicine, but if you're able to prove, and that's what we've done for my brain injury, is we've taken like my college grades and my LSAT scores and things like that, and that is actually in my medical file to show
Okay.
what level I functioned at, so
Yeah.
that like we can see that even though I'm performing in normal ranges for certain things, they're not reaching what they could have been 2 years ago. So absolutely. And so I'm really thankful that I had taken some of those, like that I took the LSAT, because I didn't even end up going to law school, but the fact that I had taken that a year before I got injured, or maybe 2 years before I got injured, that was super relevant information that is like it's very related to IQ and cognition and reading and functioning and all of those things. So if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't be able to prove as well to the neuropsychologists that I was performing at such a high level.
Yeah. And like we said earlier, right? Like maybe you can't get back to that point, but that should
Mm-hmm.
establish your range rather than the
Exactly.
general range. Yeah.
Exactly. And when it all comes down to like, and when you are making your initial goals, I do think they should be based on where you were. Like you said, if you
Yeah.
have, like if you do your blood work for yourself and then you're kind of able to see that like your blood pressure was of an athlete and then all of a sudden it's of an average person and you haven't changed your diet or exercise, that to me, I mean, I'm not a doctor, right? But that would be something to notice. Like, what
Mhm.
is going on in my biology, physiology that is causing that change? And then your goal, and the goal of the doctors should be to figure out how to get you back to that more high level performance, because that's better for your body, as opposed to just being like, yeah, well, it's fine.
Exactly. The whole normal range really screws a lot of people in a lot of ways
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to health and different things. But that could be
Yep.
a whole tangent in and of itself. But
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Because I think it's important to, like, we haven't had anyone directly say that they have been through a similar experience to you, but I know some listener down the road will. Or this can
Yeah.
relate to some other health or, you know, therapy aspect for anybody. It's just across, like, these things are patterns that do happen to
Mm-hmm.
people.
I know a student, like an athlete, right? And they had to have, oh, I don't know. Their ACL. They had to have surgery on their ACL because it snapped during practice one day. And they're like a really, really, really prolific athlete. I would believe that this person definitely could get like full ride scholarships to university, which is coming around the corner. And they had to have surgery last year. And then they had to do all this PT and whatnot. And like a big concern of the people in their lives was that, would they be able to get back to that level? Because we didn't just want him to get back to average, because he wasn't average. You want to have that therapy and you want to be able to justify to insurance, because that's where this all ends up coming back to, right? You want to be able to justify to insurance that it's necessary medically because we haven't reached where they were at, as opposed to norm.
Yeah. That's such a good caveat or whatever it might be that yeah, sometimes you do want to get back to that point because you have to for whatever reason or
Hmm.
like that should be the milestone point. But regardless at the base of this is like that data is always so important to like have that
Yeah.
puzzle piece. And then I think another aspect of it is just that you have agency in that. I mean, yes, it's different if someone's like, hey, you want this milestone, but truly, 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 like if it's someone that is giving the time and space, they're like, you will get here because of X, Y, and Z reasons. You won't be back to
Right.
that. But again, that's where everyone's experience is so different. But like the basis of it is still having the data if you can, advocating for yourself, and probably being surrounded by the right people who can support too. That's big. And changing if you need, because you have gone
Yeah.
through plenty of doctors that you're like, they did not listen to me at
Hmm.
all. I was put down. They made me cry. They like pretty much was like, no, that's not real.
It is such an interesting issue. I'm glad we kind of stumbled upon this because human variation is so high, and the fact that in a lot of these areas we're unable to account for that human variation
Mm.
because in the end a lot of our medical care is determined by health insurance. Like not just, oh, I'm going to get what health insurance pays for, because that's absolutely a method, but like the system is determined by how healthcare and the hospitals or healthcare and the providers interact, because that determines the system and the treatment, right? Because if a doctor knows you won't get this treatment because insurances aren't going to cover it, they're not even going to discuss it with you because there is no point. And if depending on the insurance you have changes your treatment. Like I know two individuals who needed long-term physical therapy this year, and one of them got 42 sessions, which is a lot, and one of them got 12. I mean, different injuries, right? But it was based on their health insurance decision, and so that's what their doctor prescribed them. And I don't blame the doctors in this situation. I don't think doctors have nearly as much control as like,
Right, they're stuck in the system.
yeah, they're trapped by the same thing, same as like teachers are in education and all those bureaucracy type jobs. But that is what is powering this machine and determining so many decisions in your treatment is the insurance's agreements with hospital system and how they interact with the insurance. I think that's how they write policy too, because they know that if they don't, that if it's not going to be provided by insurance, there's no point in doing it. And that's why my eye doctor, she doesn't accept insurance because most insurances won't pay for it. So she's private practice because no hospital is going to hire her, or hospital systems is going to hire her to do these uninsured eye therapies, because right now the insurances recognize the eye therapy as not cosmetic, but there's another word for it.
Mm.
It's elective. It's an elective
Yes,
therapy.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me wonder then, like, does that also maybe play into your like, is this snake oil? I don't know. Because that too is always something
Hmm.
that's crazy to me is like the legitimacy aspect of it, right? Like
Hmm.
for so long it's like, well, physical therapy doesn't do anything or this doesn't do anything until insurance covers it and all of a sudden it's like, look at this amazing opportunity that,
Yeah.
because there's downsides to private practice all the way, but
Hmm.
totally I know people more and more that they're like, if I want to help people, I can't
Hmm.
run through insurance.
Absolutely. Uh, that's actually kind of like I appreciate you saying that. That's kind of like holding up a mirror for me and a bit of a wake up call that I'm glad I'm having, because that might help me with my mindset for Thursday and vision therapy. Because I definitely think knowing that my insurance won't cover it has me being like, well, is it real? Like, is
Yeah.
it legitimate? And is that just me basing it on health insurance because of what they determined is legitimate? And they're going to determine as little as legitimate as possible, because
Oh
that is how they stay afloat and making money, is by saying doing the absolute bare minimum.
yeah. Quite literally. We've talked about it a lot, like different functional health sort of things. Like you look at different countries throughout history, like there's so many methods of caring for the body and supporting it, especially in the United States, our system is good for acute care, right?
Yeah.
Like you get in a car accident, you go into a hospital, they have everything they need to like, I don't know, bind up your leg or make sure you're saved if something was punctured.
Yeah.
But yeah, as soon as something is prolonged healing or it's proactive care, that's elective, that's just, well, you don't need that, there's no proof, there's no, and it's like, yeah, the healthcare industry, just like the overall health and wellness of the American today, I don't think is supported by, and that doesn't mean by the people, like there are still
Hmm.
great people and great doctors, but as we're saying, it's in a system controlled by profit, and
Right.
controlled by the bare, like how much we pay into insurance, and then you get a bill and you're like, you guys took $50 off? Like I had to go in for this. I was sick. Like I would have had like I don't know, pneumonia if I didn't go in, but it doesn't
Right.
matter. It, and everyone has to have health. It's just it's but then at the other side of it too is, we have to pay for this insurance, but then also you want to seek care that could potentially be helpful and it's all out of pocket and you can't afford it. It's
Mm-hmm.
I'm going down my own like it's so hard to be healthy.
No,
Like
it's so valid. And I think it's created a huge, I mean, it has its issues, but like it's also created like a really insidious side to like the wellness industry too, because the
Mm.
wellness industry, I believe, formed out of a need in our medical industry, right? Because we have this huge lack of care in, you said, preventative, in long-term care for ongoing conditions, right? And so they were like, people came together and were like, these physical movements, fitness, this type of diet, all these things, these are super helpful to me. And they started sharing. And I believe, as soon as that kind of stuff happens and real benefit came out of it, then capitalism also steps in, right? And now I follow all these people, and every once in a while, all of a sudden, I'm like, oh, actually, they're selling me an $85 a week supplement.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying none of those supplements work. That's not what my claim is. I believe there are really great supplements out there. And I also am not against people getting their bag. And especially if they're sharing a product they believe in, I think those
Mhm.
are totally fair. But I also am starting to see a lot more like, I end up becoming really sad when I realize that everyone is trying to sell me another monthly subscription
Yeah.
every single time. And I'm like, this was supposed to also be healthcare, and not that healthcare should be free, but now it's becoming more and more and more and more expensive in the wellness sphere as well. Do you see
Yes.
that?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a big consumer of podcasts, media, and stuff around health. And, I like to listen to the podcasts that kind of challenge the norms and stuff. And so a lot of these people fall into this outside wellness space, right?
Hmm.
And I've noticed a pattern. And while there's still some that I respect and I will follow,
Hmm.
they do. These people, they get involved for what they believe in, they have their causes, and I like to believe that that stays intact. But
Right.
then the opportunity to make money and to grow and it's like to reach more people. There's good in it, but then there's these prongs that come out where now even some of my favorite health podcasters, when their newsletters, it's, well, here, try this product, but don't worry, I
Hmm.
backed it. And like, it's always a product, it's always this. You look who they're sponsored by. And I get it, that's the way of the world. But
Right.
even now, I feel like I'm really, and maybe this was an important thing because this is how I should consume anything
Hmm.
that I read. I'm really having to filter it through my lens of like, how big is this person getting? Where is this person's own personal gain at now? And that doesn't make them a bad person per se, but it can skew things. And so much, you're totally right. Like I think the thing that scares me the most about the insidious side of the wellness industry is, well, actually, it kind of comes to two things. Number one, yeah, that price point keeps raising. That gap that we're trying to close is not closing, right?
Hmm.
Of this being accessible to people. To some extent, certain things can, right? Like if you're getting out of pocket blood work done, I know
Right.
there's a certain price point that like people have to get paid and it's expensive, whatever. It's still usually cheaper than going through a normal hospital system. That is different than my biggest thing is that like influencers and trends are grasping on to supplements and health things like, well, this one's the best and you have to eat this and
Hmm.
like, and maybe to some extent like I'm guilty of this as well because I try something and I'm like, oh, this works so well for me, like I want to tell people, but I always try to filter it through like, this works for me
Right.
and I'm going to tell you and you need to do the research. But like so many people, and I'm also guilty of being on the other side of being like, well, I just feel like I'm trusting this person kind of blindly. I really
Hmm.
had to take that step back because I don't know, I'm kind of going all over the place, but you're totally right. Like the insidious layers, they're small and they're
Hmm.
so interwoven that you feel it though. You kind of feel the change and we feel the shift. Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like in the last 2 years, although it's probably been a lot longer than that. And I love wellness. I love, like you, I love listening to the podcasts. I love engaging. Obviously, we basically have a partially wellness podcast. I love engaging with the recipes online and reading things that people are trying. I think all those things are really cool. But in the last 2 years, I really feel like wellness went from this thing that people put time and effort into, and yeah, definitely sometimes money, but it became a luxury service to be provided. And it's now, in my opinion, it's now like a status symbol to be able to be like, oh, well, I take these, I take the Lumi gummies every day. Sorry. By the Kardashians. No offense if you're taking those gummies. I don't care at all. But I think that is like the Lumi gummies are a good example of like, that's an aesthetic. It's an aesthetic that she's selling, which I think is fine. I don't really care. I actually don't even think hers are that expensive compared to like market value. But it now is becoming this thing where you take your Lumi gummy and you do the special skincare and you do all these things, and now it's being looped into this thing you're doing to show people, as opposed to like, I'm taking these gummies because I've noticed that I'm having trouble maintaining this level of nutrients or macro.
Like nutrient deficiencies and stuff
exactly.
like that. Yeah,
I take, that's why you should be taking those things to make sure you're getting all of your needs met. But it's like, that's actually almost completely gone from the conversation.
Yes, especially because so many, and I'm laughing because again, I have fallen prey to this too, so I'm really not judging it. But yeah, it's like, oh, I have to take this specific vitamin gummy thing because like my skin will be better. I'm clearly like, I am not glowing all the time because I'm lacking this vitamin. You don't know that. You might get your blood work done and you're either just fine or you're high. Like it might be a whole nother thing. So again, yeah, this wellness, when it should be understanding your body and serving your body, has become, what is the next status? Like, who's taking this? What are they promoting? I want to look like them. So what's the magic bullet? Their product.
Right.
And it's like, no, because the human body is an organism, right? Yeah, fuel it, do good for like what, but no matter how many gummies you take, it's like you're not going to look like these famous people who are now wellness influencers who dump hundreds of thousands of dollars into their wellness aesthetic every year. You can't. And we are building their empires by buying their shit.
Right.
And sometimes if you love it, if it really is like, but cool. I have my red light mask, y'all. Like, I'm not judging any. I wear that and I'm like, whether it's doing it or not, I'm a guinea pig in this experiment and I enjoy it because I feel luxurious.
I think that's a really valid and important piece, is that I'm not really judging anybody for participating in it at all. Like, no. This is the situation we're in. And I also get that like things cost money. Like, I'm not ignorant of those things, and I think they're both fine. Like, I don't care. And I know I also, hot take, I do believe that a good amount of competition, of financial competition, is healthy. I think that is good. I think it's gotten, it can definitely go too far where everything gets super expensive and it's all about money. But, a good dose of competition is great. So I'm not against the fact that there have been products specifically aimed, like there's the super greens you can drink in the morning. I'm unclear if that's a great idea or not. I have no idea. I have no studied of it. But I also know, like you, Brooke, you make a green juice. I'm like, what is the difference between those two items? I would hazard a guess that making your own is healthier because you're getting the nutrition straight from the whole food, and you're probably getting it, not taken down to a chemical compound and reanimated, whatever you want to call it. But that doesn't mean, like, I don't know, maybe the super greens are totally fine and great if you can't do it. I'm not trying to make a big statement over that you shouldn't be drinking Bloom or whatever that everyone in the whole world is getting paid to advertise. Bloom, you can advertise through me if you want, if you pay me, and your product is not a total scam. I don't know. Like, I just hate that, like, I can't swipe twice on Instagram anymore without realizing they're selling me something. And I think what's really gotten me upset, which I know we're like tangenting all around right now, but I don't care. I'm going to keep going.
This is us.
It's the flow.
Yeah.
What I really am struggling with the most right now is these plans people are selling. That's what's killing me. If you are a nutritionist, a dietitian, or a physical trainer, I'm not speaking to you. Okay? If you're anybody else and you're making a plan and that plan is the same plan for every person who buys it from you, you're a bad person.
Well, no. It's so true because like it's so funny talk about the like I can't scroll twice. I feel like I have narrowed my Instagram down
Mm-hmm.
so much, and I know to some extent, oh, it's an echo chamber, always is, no matter
Right.
what. That now I think because I'm in the world of like coaching and things like that, I get all of these ads. So many, you guys. Like, I think they have to be fake, the numbers they're
Mm-hmm.
throwing out. But they're like, if you're still working with people, you need to create a course and sell this course. Like, I make $300,000 a month because people just take my. And I was like, how is that benefiting anybody?
Right.
Some things, yes, for the masses. Wellness, as we were talking, no. Even
Mm-hmm.
like working out, like we are losing the human to human interaction that is so important in overall wellness, right? Like even when it comes to a personal trainer, exactly. Like yes, if sometimes it's beneficial to have just a plan that you can follow through, but if you're rehabbing from an injury or you're really starting from ground zero, and you can try to do it yourself, but like what a beautiful benefit that like a human who has a time and love and passion can serve for an exchange of money so they can live
Mm-hmm.
and you can benefit. Sorry. Yes, I kind of jumped back into the PT world, but I totally
Yeah.
hear you that now it's just like, well, anybody can create it, just create it and sell it to the masses. And I'm like, again, another bit of like we're just
Right.
dumping money to nothing.
Well, it kills me because if okay, let's take you and I. We both care about a lot of the same things and we've prioritized a lot of the same fitness and food and things like that. We know, like, even though we eat similarly, we both have to prioritize very different food groups for
Very
our
different.
bodies to run as efficiently as possible. Like,
Yeah.
like I think I could live off of chickpeas every day. I eat them every day, you guys. I eat them cooked, I eat them raw, I eat them all the time. That Brooke would die. Her
She
body would shut down
They
and she'd
attack
secret.
me. They attack my poor little belly. They hate me so much. They try to rip me from the inside out. Yeah, totally.
And then vice versa,
Uh-huh.
you are able to ingest
A lot of
some
meat.
some good meat and it's so good for you and I am jealous every day, but you
Yeah.
can eat some red meat, some ground beef in a healthy like Korean bowl or something. Oh my gosh, sounds amazing. I can't do that.
Hmm.
And like both of us can eat those foods. We're not allergic to the other food. Our bodies just aren't responding to it. And this is obviously like the most base level response. We're like, that makes my tummy hurt. But we can't eat it. So if we both bought the same plan that was like, eat this thing and then go do this workout, for one of us that workout could be super beneficial because our body is nutritioned correctly and it's taking in that nutrition properly and we don't feel like garbage. And
Hmm.
for the other person, they're going to feel like garbage, then they're going to lift poorly, hurt their back and, have a limp for 6 days.
Exactly. When you don't take into account the fact that we have different body types, different needs, and like that's what's actually so exhausting. My mom and I talk about this all the time is to truly invest in your health and wellness. It feels like a full-time job because
Yes.
you're researching and then you're sifting through and then you're trying things out. What works for me? And you're checking in and then you're having to research again. And you're like, it is a never ending process that can really bog oneself down. So I
Mhm.
understand that everybody's trying to do these quick fixes because it's like, guys, collagen, guys, creatine, try this. And guess what? I consume one to both of those things sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
whatever. But
Mhm.
also, it's a test. And there are some things I have tried and yeah, and I'm like, that will not work for me. It does not work for my body. And if I were to, I would probably still be on those things if I were to just look to the world outside. But I'm like, but that's the trendy thing. And I'm like, well, I wish, but I will feel like garbage.
Yeah.
Not just so much so that like even that really physical, like, oh, like my stomach hurts. Sometimes
Mhm.
it's just like, well, my energy got lowered. Like I think I talked about in a podcast that will be released before this. I tried low carb.
Mhm.
You guys, horrible. Well, though granted, a lot of women shouldn't be on low carb in general,
Right.
but I was so in the mindset of like, well, I have to do this because it's healthier and it's going to be kind of, I admit, I thought it was the turnkey to expedite certain goals that I wanted for myself.
Mhm.
Uh-uh. Destroyed me. Like, I was close to passing out walking down the street. I was sitting in a sauna at work in my parka because I was so cold all day. Like my body was shutting down. But I was like, this is the thing. I have to be low carb.
Right.
Crazy. So anyway, and I didn't use a prescribed plan, but I definitely fell down the rabbit hole of watching even just like what I eat in a day videos. Which I have a really weird love-hate relationship. Like I want to click on all of them because I'm like, what are you eating? I love food. But 9 times out of 10, I'm like, I have to eat more than that. I have to eat differently than that. And now for some reason I feel like I'm wrong.
Exactly. And you know that it's always like I hate to do this because like women are great and women should be able to wear whatever they want and all of those things, caveat, explanation, whatever. They're always like in a sports bra and standing in front of the food they're going to show you. And like good for them. Like you know, I believe you work hard to get that appearance a lot of the time, but like it's not healthy for me. I've learned it's very unhealthy for me to like see her stand, like I know it's not one woman, but like standing there, I can see her body very exposed, which, you know, whatever, as she's showing me this different food. And then obviously I'm starting to correlate, oh, her food, her body, and then I start getting into unhealthy thinking patterns that I'm pretty successful at like clicking away and moving on, but I've definitely seen myself going down the rabbit hole. And then my thought is always when I start to check myself, thank God I'm not a 15-year-old girl because I do not know how I would ignore this media at 15.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. I have never thought of that. Because, yeah, I think of the struggle I have. Even if I go down a 5-minute rabbit hole, like, I'm just going to Google this. Just going to find out a little more about it. Maybe I should try it. 9 times out of 10, I'm like, what am I doing? And I check out. But that level of awareness and probably experience of trial and error of different things.
Yeah.
We got to do trial and error in a different, I mean, diet culture has always been bad. We've talked about that, right? Like we grew up where so many people were labeled as being overweight that clearly weren't. So our visions were skewed, but we didn't have such a constant bombardment all the time of not, I feel like it was more of like a shame thing before, right? Like, you know, magazines and you see people and it's like, drink this shake or go to Weight Watchers. But now it's like, well, this is really healthy. See, I'm super healthy and I eat in this way. So like package this up. Here you go. You can look and be just like me.
Right.
And have a pristine white marble kitchen.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, at 15, when your body's growing and changing too, still, oh.
Well, I mean, and I even just think like, okay, I feel different watching those videos in the morning than I do in the evening. So like if I see one of those videos at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m., I'm like, she and I are basically the same.
Yeah.
I'm so skinny. And of course, right, that's the other thing that I think I just happened upon is like you're saying healthy and then I'm saying skinny. And that is because right now those media things are definitely presenting those together. Yep. Like if you're healthy, you're skinny, or if you're skinny, you're healthy, which is not a consistent truth. Although I do think that like obviously excessive over or underweight, like those are health concerns for a multitude of reasons. But like that's not the only health factor in the world. But then, you know, I go look at it after I've had dinner. I'm going to be a different human looking at that video. And then I'm like, how am I so... Like, you can tell that I've eaten. I don't know if that's a thing for everybody. Like, in the world, I don't know. But, like, if I have had a meal, you can tell that I've had a meal. Like, that's how my body works. It's okay. It's natural. It's normal. But, like, I can't understand that at a baser level when I'm consuming that media. That, like, I had a meal. I'm certain she hadn't when she took that video.
Exactly. It's the tips and tricks of the media. So true. Yeah. Or like when people, one of my biggest irks, Erica, is you're totally right. You can have a meal and guess what? It could be a big old salad and you're going to bloat because it's fiber and your body's got to like peel it back. We should not be avoiding foods because of how our body might momentarily react to it, as long as you still feel good and it gives you energy. Your stomach might extend a little bit. God forbid. Right. But I also watch like my travel blog. Like I'm on vacation and like, I think that they look like this, flat stomach, laying on the sun all week long. And listen, I don't go eat trash. Like a lot of time if I'm out in the sun, like I'm eating really healthy, but I'll be like, by the end of the day, I had a meal and like I can see it. And I'm like, what's wrong with me?
Right.
Why? Like, but simple thing, they're probably taking those pictures at 6 a.m.
Exactly. And I can't even judge them. Because
No.
you bet your ass that's when I'm taking mine too.
Yeah.
Like,
Because we have to, right? Because otherwise you look at it and you're like, do I look like that? Yeah, you do. Some hours
right.
out of the day. You're still
Yeah.
beautiful, but like Instagram isn't for the real.
Exactly, because Instagram is not real.
No.
And I hate that I definitely like we're still in this machine. Like I try so hard to like get out of it. Like I have a few things that I stick to really heavily. Like I wouldn't wear shapewear at my wedding. This is not a critique of anyone who wore shapewear at their wedding, but I was like, I can't because I teach young women. And if I wear shapewear, I don't know where this thought came from. If I wear shapewear, that's not the shape of my body. It's not a real shape, and my students will see that, and then they will think that's how bodies are shaped, and they're not. And I don't know if that's like actually making a difference. Like whatever, but it was the thought process. So I have a few things where I like really stick to, and that's one of them. But otherwise, like I know the pictures and angles that I'm taking are at certain days, certain times. And part of that's just because you feel more confident, right? Like I think about the week after my period, I want to take pictures of myself all day.
Exactly. Yeah, like to some extent it's yeah, when you feel your best, there's nothing wrong with that, right?
Right.
And we don't I love when people post like the gym pictures, like me from this angle, then me from a real angle. I
Yeah.
love that. But also I don't expect everyone to post that all the
No.
time. But it's only dangerous to me when that's the constant and then there's always a product or a service or a like
Yes.
see just like me underneath it. And that's where yeah, I get really mad. Or again, I'm gonna go back into this a little bit, but we're not totally touching on it today. Is like the Ozempic weight loss drugs.
Yeah.
If you're using them for
Hmm.
aesthetic weight loss and you don't tell anybody,
Yeah.
and then you're selling, like oh, like it's just this whole aesthetic of well, I eat this way, but I always ate this way, but all of a sudden you dropped 15 pounds, like
Hmm.
stop messing with our minds. Like it just I don't know.
That was like a huge scandal this week too. It's so
This
poignant
week.
because yeah, this week there was this big TikToker who, she did do some really great things. She would share these meals she was eating while she was losing weight, and she had been asked many times like, "Are you on Ozempic?" And she just like didn't respond, which I guess to some extent like you don't owe people your medical information. And she was quite overweight at the beginning of her journey, and then she lost a lot. So like we can talk about Ozempic another time, but like it wasn't this very thin woman taking it to lose a couple pounds. This I believe was a health driven choice, but she was sharing these recipes, and I believe she was selling recipe plans. And then in a YouTube video like a year into this process, she then was like, "Oh yeah, I am taking weight loss medication." And it was like, if you had said that in the beginning and you were like, "Here's the food I eat
Wild.
while taking this medication to make sure that I'm getting enough nutrition while losing the weight, blah blah blah," I think it could have still and likely would have been really well received, because a lot of people on GLP-1s are looking for diets and meals that will meet their nutritional
Hmm.
needs when they can eat less food. So
Absolutely.
I think there's a huge market, like media market for that, but she didn't do that. She neglected to tell anyone. So people thought if I eat these meals she's making, I could lose 50 pounds in the next couple months, because that's what she did. That was all she did to change her life, but it's not true.
Hmm. Are you looking to make a change in your life? Do you desire to come into greater connection with your authentic self and express yourself more fully? Is there a project, passion, or piece of yourself that you've been wanting to create and share with the world? Or have you been working towards a dream, but you've burned out along the way? Do you desire to communicate and connect with others on a deeper level? Do you want to leave a legacy? If you answered yes to any of these questions, but feel you need some assistance with your progress forward, then life coaching might be the next right step for you. As a certified life coach, I use my unique skills and training to help my clients gain clarity on their goals, design a roadmap towards achieving them, and identify the tools, resources, and my favorite, their unique gifts that will support them along their way. And it doesn't matter where you are on the road. If you're right at the beginning, halfway there, almost to that finish line, or you can't even see where the road begins yet. Regardless of where you are, If you're ready to invest in yourself and your dreams with a dedicated coach who's excited to champion you along your way, I would love the chance to work with you. Visit my website, brookfields.com. There you will find more information about the coaching services I provide and how to book your free, no strings attached, 30-minute consultation. Whether you're ready to stop playing small or eager to expand boldly, let's do it together. It's funny, as you were saying that, part of me is like, that's a human being on the other side of a camera with a business and a livelihood. And, I should know better than to get on these platforms and believe anything I see, or everything I see, excuse me. So I can't even totally I don't know this person. I don't know this. Thank you for telling it. Because I can't be mad at her because sometimes that level of transparency can feel vulnerable. And I think we should expect that from people who are profiting from the masses and you're selling. I just always believe in just that honest truth. But also I'm not a billionaire with a business. And maybe that's why, it is such a struggle. But also, it's funny, as you were saying that, I was almost reflecting back onto myself. I'm like, well, what do you expect? What do you expect, Brooke? I'm disappointed to hear that. But then at the same time, too,
well,
isn't that just everyone now?
We can flip the coin, right? So we see these predominantly men, but sometimes women who are huge fitness influencers. So less focused on food, or maybe they're just I eat an entire cow every day influencers. And they're working out all the time and they're showing off their physique. I don't know one, but I know many bodybuilders are open about the fact that they're taking performance enhancing drugs to attain that physique. Exactly. And so while that's the opposite of Ozempic, right? I still feel like if this man is taking performance enhancing medication or drug, not medication, it's a drug, it's illegal. If he's taking that and he's selling you a workout regime, I feel like that's almost I almost feel like that should be breaking the law. In America, we have this what is that? Honesty or integrity in advertisement act. You cannot lie in an ad. I feel like that's a lie in an ad. If you're taking a drug to attain something and then you're saying, actually, I just I lifted 3 times a day for 2 weeks.
And
you're a liar.
Very specific diet that you can be on.
Yeah. Yeah. All you have to do is pay me $20 a week or $200 a week and I'll get you just as fit as I am.
Yeah. That's so true. Because actually in my master's program, we learned a lot about that in my marketing and public relations. And it can get really fuzzy in the realm of public relations. There's lawsuits and stuff all the time. And now a lot of times you see they have to do hashtag advertisement or promotion or something so that that because they are so good at creating content now. It's I'm just jumping on my car to tell you about something that I just love so much and it's changed my life. Advertisement at the bottom. Everybody, to get paid, to get sponsorships, they have to find these new ways of helping make the sale and churning out. And a lot of it is, oh gosh, Erica, as you said that, it's I think it clicked for me. It's I have this really big thing and it is my own even internal fear for myself of lacking authenticity or falling into something and then not being authentic and honest. And maybe I'll die on that hill, right? to be successful, to make money, I feel like you always find out that someone did something really shady. And I hate that. And I like to believe that good, honest people can still profit, but I don't know if I've totally seen it yet.
I think you're totally right. I have felt that way before. And I've even I've spoken to my husband about it, where we're talking about he may want to, I'm not sure if he still wants to anyway, but for a while he was really I kind of want to open a business of my own because I'm running a business and I just have to figure out what I'm passionate about and etc. And we were looking at some connections and things that we knew about, and it was some of those individuals were very willing to step on the backs of other people to get where they got. That's not all entrepreneurs. There are lots of phenomenal small business owners and probably large business owners too. So that's not what I mean. No. But I feel you're faced with so many ethical decisions when you're running a business. And that includes these people who are selling these plans. It's maybe you're not thinking you're hurting somebody, but you've decided that you don't care about the fallout of this.
Yeah. Because I think another thing to put in perspective too is, again, I am thinking about it, and I think there's probably other industries as well. But again, this health and wellness industry is where you see more of these ethical things kind of being really grayed and really blurry. You know, a lot of
Mhm.
like hometown businesses. I always consider it because again, I feel like this is what bogs me down even like in my own trying to build a career in what I consider to be more of a services based career or
Right.
like it's intangible in some ways, right? Like we're creating entertainment but learning and all this stuff that like I wish I could just be like I'm selling you this piece for your drain so that
Yes.
it stops leaking because there's no ethical question in that. Maybe it's where
Hmm.
I source it, I don't know. But yeah, especially in the world of like you said, it all goes back to like people start out with the right intentions. At least I
Yeah.
think most do. There are some people that jump on the backs of that just for the money aspect, but I do think people go into it. But it's like, especially now because I think everybody thinks they need to have their business via social media.
Hmm.
9 times out of 10, I think that is a piece in their I was gonna say demise. That's really a harsh word. But in that, like, maybe an ethical choice arises and they're like, well, everyone else is doing it, so it's okay.
Right. I think there's a lot of like, I'm not saying all, I guess I did actually say you're a bad person. I specifically said that word for word, so whatever. But I think a lot, like you said, a lot of these people who are making these plans, who are, not disclosing that they're taking drugs or whatever, they're not going out to be evil, to
Mm-mm.
mislead. They don't have negative intentions. They probably started out good and then they just decided, like, well, this isn't that big a deal. Right? And we're all faced with those kinds of decisions every day. It's just once money is involved, and I think you said it great, like it's the service industry, but it's beyond just the service industry. It's like that, yeah, you said non-tangible. Like you are providing something that is not a measurable, like, oh, checks, like if you were selling a service like I'm cutting hair service, once the hair is cut, you're like, I did in fact provide that service. Whereas some of these things, it's a lot fuzzier about whether or not that service was provided and if it was provided in its intended way.
Yes. Because there is something to, again, and this is something I grapple with myself, is in a lot of these service based or non tangible sort of sales, if you will, it's like, oh my gosh, well, what if the person doesn't get the result they want? To
Mm-hmm.
some extent, that is on said person when it comes to working, because you could provide a plan that is tailored to someone, they don't follow it, or they
Right.
have other factors that come in. So, that's a separate aspect of this, but yes, it's more so that like I think money and like that growth and what we feel we should do and should provide, like it can blur. And it can
Mm-hmm.
not only blur our choices, but I almost wonder if people know that they're even doing it anymore.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid question because I think if you asked them, I'm really thinking of very specific people that I follow on Instagram who
Yeah.
have sold,
How can we
who
not?
are selling a like one size fits all plan. That's who is in my mind when I'm talking. I'm certain that yeah, if you asked them, they would tell you and believe it with their chest. Like, this worked for me. I'm sharing it with other people. And it's like, yeah, it worked for you and this other thing you did, or yeah, it worked for you, but what in your right mind makes you think that you, a 140-pound woman, should be following the same plan as like a 220-pound man?
Yeah. It's just it goes to show that again, you have to take everything with a grain of salt.
Hmm.
And I don't want it to turn into it sounds like we think people are bad, right? Or are trying to manipulate but again, it is this thing of like I think we get lost in the shuffle and the money and again, social media just adds this weird dehumanizing layer of like, well, I'm
Right.
just putting a product out there, like it doesn't matter. Like who cares if who it impacts or how it does? Like that's up to them. They're adults,
Right.
they can take responsibility. Yes, but also just like there should be an integrity, I think, to
Hmm.
your product or to what you sell, and with that comes honesty. So, oh, I don't know. I feel like we could dive down the niches of this, but it's funny how this is like a circle that came out of just our healthcare system. But
Right.
this is again one of those things that branch out when people are like, okay, well,
Hmm.
we're gonna go find the answers ourselves.
Right.
Human beings want to grow and thrive, but we unfortunately don't live in a society where we're just like bargaining with each other and exchanging goods and services.
Yeah.
Like, no, everybody's trying to get the multi-million dollar penthouse, and I don't work
Right.
a day in my life anymore. So
Which,
social
like,
media is the catalyst.
exactly. And like the thing is like I too want money. Like I can't
Right.
even be like, oh, how dare no, I would love to be able to make a lot of money. And I think the critique comes from in the end what we're talking about as a full thing, which is all just a tangent about my stupid left eye, was that the healthcare system is so focused on money because insurance is paying most of it and insurance has to stay profitable, which I understand is true. Like insurance isn't going to exist if it's not profitable, which
Right.
might be good and might be bad depending. I think the average person it'd almost be good, but for that person who has a 3-year-old who has metastatic bone cancer, they need insurance because no matter how much cheaper healthcare gets, that healthcare will still be astronomically unaffordable. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm not solving this problem for anyone. I'm just pointing out that healthcare is determined by money because of insurance. And then to solve that problem, the wellness sphere was created. And now the wellness sphere is turning into exactly what we were escaping from the healthcare system. And now they want us to pay, everything is financial, everything is based on how much money you can make. And again, people have to make money. I'm not trying to demonize wanting to make money. It's just that it's become this minefield where we've lost sight of what it was supposed to be, because I don't know that money should be the goal of healthcare or wellness.
So well said. So well said. Like, I think those initial branches that came out was they were trying to do good, give access, give people access to things that they would not otherwise have had. But yeah, it's that kind of dark edge of, I don't know, being human beings, being a capitalist
Right.
society, that it's like, well, where money is going to be made, people will flock. And everyone
Mm-hmm.
also in that space has to find their niche and has to find their this. So that quickly is like, well, I have to set myself apart and prove to you why you want to choose mine and pay me for my goods and services. And so it's different from this person in this way, which sometimes I think then turns into, so I'm going to sell it as like, you need it, it's perfect for you. I'm not going to tell you all the details, you can figure that out. Or it's an aesthetic thing, because you're totally right. Like, I'm I'm outing myself, guys. I wanted this Aura ring to help track my cycle
Mm-hmm.
and my sleep and my blood oxygen, and I like it. It's cool. Doesn't do great for a girly who lifts. I'll tell you right
Yeah.
there. There's different things that I would probably need something else to track my data. But to some extent too, I'm also like, Jennifer Aniston wore this in the morning show, and she looked so cool because I knew what it was, and it was
Yeah.
product placement, and I fell into it after there was a Black Friday sale. I'm like, I need that.
Okay. But that's the thing. That's why this is such a double-sided sword. And that's why we're trying to be like, this isn't good, but it's not bad. Because like,
Right.
right, money breeds innovation too, right? Like that's why
Oh,
we
well
have
said.
all these phenomenal treatments and different areas of healthcare right now, right? Like there's this new suit that stimulates nerves, so people who have moderate paralysis now have a treatment for movement. So people who are in wheelchairs, not all, like I'm not trying to like sell, a miracle cure, but people who could walk but had struggles can wear this suit for like an hour a day, and it stimulates the nerves in a way that makes you spastic enough to be able to walk longer. It's crazy. It's cool. This is probably like multi-millions of dollars of funding, but the
Yeah.
only reason it can exist, or not, maybe not can, because maybe somebody would be passionate enough, but the reason that much money got pushed into it is because it's going to make that money back several
True.
times over. Which again, like money is hard, but like the Aura Ring is cool. I have my Apple Watch, which records everything I do. It's cool. It is helpful. It does inform us. So while it does suck that now everything has a financial aspect to it, it doesn't make it all inherently bad. Like a lot of these plans are good and helpful. It's just, I hate when I feel like it's this shill. Like if somebody is selling a plan and they take in your information and help you create a plan that makes sense for you, I don't hate them. I'm like, that's fine. Especially if they have, I mean, if they're educated in that way, I think it's great. I think plans are awesome. I think therapy, coaching, physical training, all those things are really phenomenal. It's just when you take out all of the meaning from it, at least like the Apple Watches and the Aura Ring are giving you information that can help you make decisions, as opposed to just like if everyone was given an Aura Ring and it just told everyone, get better sleep tonight, and it just told everyone that same message every single night, that's not doing anything for anybody.
So true. Yeah. It is. It's even what you said with like money and innovation. You know, you look at research,
Hmm.
cancer research, anything. Gosh, I feel like I'm depressing today, but it's just important to remember that there's always a light and a dark side to anything,
Right.
to good, to people, to services, to research. You know, there's, I'm sure, things that go on as far as grants and money spent and
Hmm.
how humans are oftentimes guinea pigs for different things in health and wellness. So it's just something to be aware of. And like, I think for me, it has really come down to helping me check my sources and
Hmm.
what lands with me. Like when, because if I am starting to get a feeling about someone, like, you know, when the hairs kind of raise a little bit, you're like, this
Right.
feels a little like, why are things shifting? Why are this? Doesn't always mean it's bad, but it's
Right.
just something that like you have to know people's motivations. And that doesn't make them a bad person because you have your own motivations,
Right.
but it just helps us, I think, make informed choices to know that not that nothing in the world is like pure and good in and of itself, but like kinda.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think the real purpose of all of these like caveats we're giving is like that it helps you make an informed choice. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that this is right or wrong. I'm just saying it's not right or wrong for every single person.
Mhm.
And we have to make our decisions based on, because we know ourselves the best.
Mhm.
We need to make our decision based on that. And also on like real science and also on that gut feeling. I do think that gut feeling matters. If you're going into something with somebody and you suddenly feel like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, I'm questioning them,
Listen to that.
that at least engage with it, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm still going to keep going to vision therapy and I'll update you guys, but I am looking at that and trying to decide. I have to parse through, right? Like my job is to parse through with the vision therapy. Is it my knee jerk reaction to something not being covered by health insurance, delegitimizing it? Is it my own fear of failure or like feeling like I failed, that I avoidance of that feeling? Or is it an actual, is my gut correct, you know? And I think it'll be cool to kind of, do another week or two and evaluate then how I feel, especially after this conversation. I think it's been really enlightening for me. That'll help me make that decision. And then hopefully I could inform other people who are having similar eye struggles. I could be like, well, in my anecdotal experience,
Hmm.
I found it to be, I had to get past this, or I found it to end up not being worth, what I put into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really good way to paint the picture too, that sometimes it takes time. There might be multiple things that kind of come to the surface. And so that's where that self awareness is a helpful piece because while I, believe in listening to one's intuition, I like how you said it. It's like at least consider it. You don't have to be like, "Yep, nope, I'm out." Like you'll know
Mm-hmm.
when it's strong enough that you're like, "This person is not a safe person to be around" because your body
Definitely.
senses that. However, some of it could just be like, I don't have enough logical evidence to stand in this because this is a space that would probably require a little bit more logical evidence
Mm-hmm.
because it's medically related, right? So like just listening to those different parts of yourself and then giving it time and just knowing that like you have the ability to discern.
Yeah.
With again, it's like with things you buy, with things you participate in, if something is serving you, you might have done something for a while and then same thing will come up where you're like, I don't know, it's just feeling, it's just these are always good checkpoints to just go inward and just run it through. Yeah, your value
Mm-hmm.
system, what you know, like who, talk to people you trust. I feel like it sounds like we're making it bigger than it needs to be, but like these are big things, health and wellness is a big thing and it's ultimately up to you.
I totally agree. And I think it's so good to kind of really think about like what is your knee jerk reaction. That doesn't have to be the decision you make, but it can
Right.
be influential. Because I even think we're talking about like, I'm thinking of a specific Instagram woman that I saw post that made me frustrated. But if I also step back and I think about people I engage with regularly, I follow another woman who's a vegetarian influencer. I don't know. She cooks, she makes lots of different food, and she made a cookbook. And it's behind you have to pay for it. And she also has a Substack, and you have to pay for her meal plans and stuff like that. And I do. Like I am excited to support her because I feel like what she has is of value to me. And I don't pay for my subscription all the time because I'm not always cooking it all the time, which I think is what makes it good, is that I just do it when I feel like it.
Mm.
But, you're able to kind of view, like, yeah, not everyone trying to make money is bad. Like, you're worth money. Like, the services you provide is worth money. Absolutely. She's not promising to cure me of anything.
Right. Yeah, because that's another like, if you are someone out there who's like kind of has that imposter syndrome, or you want to put like, yes, your time, your knowledge, your energy expenditure, that is worth money. Like,
Yeah.
you don't just give things away for free. There's something to be said for building a livelihood off of your passions and how it can help other people and things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just however we can, and maybe it's something even to think about too on the opposite side. Like, we've talked about being the consumer of these things, but then being a creator of them is, and I think we're actively in this ourselves, Erica. Is like, how do we filter through? I always think of it as like authenticity and honesty, but I think it also, it goes deeper than that as well. Maybe not deeper, but like there's other things to like, well, how do I know that I'm not misleading people? I mean, you'll never know for sure. I mean, I think we'll have a basis, right? Like, I like to think those people that are creating those things and kind of withholding important critical information. No.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think, like you said, there's some, like, the reality, or if you have that authenticity and you're just doing the best you can, people are going to mess up. People are going to make mistakes. I'm sure that at some point we're going to say something and it's going to be wrong, and we're going to still post the podcast. We won't know it's wrong. We'll leave it up for a year. We won't know, or maybe we'll never know. And, like, we weren't intentionally trying to share wrong information about something. Granted, I know that we both try to make sure that we're speaking from a place of, we know what we're speaking about. We've looked into it. We're not just, like, spreading false information. But, like, not everything's always gonna be perfect, and that's okay. And that's okay to hold, like, those people we're following online and those content creators. It's okay to also give them grace. But I almost feel like one of the big differences comes from, like, what effort are they putting into the thing they're selling? And are they being honest about what it's going to achieve for you? Because the person selling me these vegetarian recipes is not telling me that if I eat her vegetarian recipes every day for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to lose 10 pounds. She is saying that she feels great on a vegetarian diet, obviously, but the promise of the plan, I think, also is something taken into consideration.
Yeah. Well said. Do you know what's so fun, guys? We had a whole different topic planned today, but it doesn't matter, because this is the beauty of being back with you. Is we just go where the conversation leads, and it always feels like important or fiery when we're following that. We're like, all right, this is it. This is the trajectory for this conversation.
They're always my favorite, looking back on when we ended up having a whole different plan and we just fell down a rabbit hole. I mean, obviously that, it feels like maybe we were supposed to put this out today, or, well, not today for us, but today for you, listener.
You're supposed, whenever it's hitting your ears, your ears, maybe. But yeah, well, Erica, definitely keep us updated with how that goes. And yeah, and as always, guys, if you have feedback, if something we said you're like, oh no, that struck me, I have differing thoughts, I agree, here's my experience, we love it all.
Yep.
Let us know.
We're willing to take the critique, as long as it's, gentle.
Yeah.
With my soul.
Erica, you've survived. You survived the stay-at-home moms that came for you when you were just trying to, like, actually support them, and it was misconstrued.
Yeah, barely, though. I did end up getting really upset one time, but not because of the things they said to me, but mostly because I was like, you're like purposefully misunderstanding me.
Yeah.
That was when I got upset and I almost cried, but I was like, you can tell me I'm dumb all you want. That didn't bother me, but at least listen to my words before you call me dumb.
Yeah. Well, good one as always. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening to our random train of thought. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.